It's you, man. It's you.
It's definitely me. So welcome to Lessons in Deeper Wisdom with Nishan and the Light Bulb of Higher Thought. We're here to bring you a lot of deeper wisdom.
Deeper wisdom.
Yeah, with our deep voices, just doing our thing.
Okay. Is deeper about how deep we go or how deep our voices go? Which one is it? Yes. Okay, yes, I'm with that.
Yes. Intentionally and on purpose.
Intentionally and on purpose.
I mean, even though it's natural. But that is our topic today, is how to create intention or purpose.
Yeah.
I actually really like the way that it's worded, how to create intention.
Oh yeah. It doesn't happen by accident. A lot of people think it does. It does not happen by accident.
Because, I mean, if you, on a random day, if you ask me, how do you create intention? You just do it, but it's like, well, how?
Well, and that's I guess that's the question, is like, intention, what does it mean? Intention is whatever you intend to do, or whatever you're trying to create, trying to make, or trying to fulfill, whatever that is. And it starts with you. What are you trying to do? And that's the deep part about it, is trying to figure out, how do you make that happen? A lot of people are asking, okay, what is intention? Well, the whole point of it is, have you decided to do a thing, and what have you decided to do? And how do you make that something that you choose versus not? They got all kinds of catchphrases like the best intentions or whatever else. That is the thing that you hope or desire to come to pass. And if you are attempting to create intention, you're trying to make something that you hope or wish to come to pass to manifest in reality in a way that is positive, usually positive. So, okay. How do you create intention? First, and this is the important part, you have to decide who you are. And people are like, I am who I am. No, you're not. You aren't just who you are.
I just need people to see that.
Yeah. Because
I get it. I get the response. I understand the response.
It's a cop-out.
But it is a cop-out. Like you say, it's a cop-out. Like, okay, but describe that.
Well, and I guess that's the point, is like, I am who I am. No, you are exactly who you decided to be. Well, no, that's the same thing. No, it's not. I am who I am means that it happened by accident, that it just that's sort of what the universe made. It's not. You are literally the culmination of every decision you've ever made, every choice you've ever made. And you're responsible for those choices because you decided. So when you're talking about creating intention, you first decide who you are. And that requires you to take a look at who you actually are, taking that person into account, and then deciding on what I hope and wish to come to pass. How do I make it happen? Creating intention is deciding who you are, making that hope and wish be in alignment with who you are, and then making that thing happen. That's how you create real intention, where you're really trying to create something in the world, versus, well, I'm just that guy, stuff happened to me when I was younger, so that's just how I gotta be. That's not
how you gotta be. It was just something it was just a lived experience that you could learn from. But you decide, that means you decided to be this person because of, not necessarily you taking control of who you are.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times most people don't know how to answer that question, because they've never really truthfully asked themselves that question.
Well, yeah.
Which is where a lot of times when I'm teaching about the mind and meditation, right? I always talk about sometimes when you ask people a question, which to me, a lot of times, I'm a deep thinker. So some questions aren't as deep to me, whereas to others, they might be. Yeah. But whether it's deep or not, doesn't matter. You can ask somebody a question. We'll go, basic. What is the meaning of life, right? Granted, there doesn't have to be an answer to that question. and there's not a specific answer to be like, oh, that's the right answer, but
there's no right answer to that question.
So
but there is an answer.
There is an answer, but a lot of people will go, I don't know, and then keep moving, because a lot of times I always like to refer to it as like you're walking down the street and then you reach that question and then there's a block or a shield or something right there that stops you from thinking any further before you get to the answer, and you just decide to turn around instead of climbing over it or busting through it and getting that answer. And so a lot of times we are so used to running into those walls and turning around that we never actually truthfully answer the question or address the wall.
Well, because it's easier. It's easier to say, okay, what is the meaning of life? I don't know. And then walk away from it, than to say the meaning of life is whatever I make it. And it's my choice it's my responsibility to figure out what that is by doing a lot of introspection and shadow work to figure out what my purpose and what my intention is. And that gives my life meaning.
So what is this shadow work you speak of? Like when I walk around, the sun is like that and I see do I have to work with my shadow? Like what is this?
No. Shadow work is the intentional exploration of the deepest levels of our psyche. So you have the conscious mind, you have the subconscious mind, and then you have the shadow. In the shadow resides all the things we don't want to address about ourselves, the things that we hide from, the truth about who we are. Shadow work, is the intentional purpose of going into that part of your psyche and pulling out those things that you hide from and addressing them. So it's a lifelong process. It never stops. So
never stops. It never ends.
It's done with my shadow work. No, you're not.
No. Anybody who has, like you said, that I word again, intentionally done that shadow work and have gone into their own mind and deep down into your psyche, and then those back rooms and in those closets, and you find those parts of yourself that you have to accept and work through. And it is not easy.
Yeah.
If you say like, oh yeah, I've done my shadow work, and you think that it was an easy cakewalk in the park, you didn't do shadow work.
You lost the plot.
Yeah, you didn't do what you no.
Real shadow work is painful, and it doesn't mean beat yourself up. It doesn't mean tear yourself apart. It doesn't mean go into the traumas of your life and expect that you're gonna go through that and it's gonna be easy. It is understanding what it is, accepting that it's a part of you, and then incorporating that into your conscious being, and then making choices, i.e. intention, based off of the true understanding of yourself. And that to me is the purpose of this existence, is that exploration of self, and having that exploration of self allow you to make choices that impact the world in the truest way that is closest to who you are. So creating intention is not just the shadow work part. It's about having that shadow work done and then going out into the world and influencing the world based on this new person that you've become, and making choices that reflect that new person that you've become. And that's hard to do because most people are unaware of who they actually are. It's difficult to do because it's hard to make choices that are true to who you are, but may offend people or upset the calm of your previous existence. But creating real intention is I think the point of all of this,
Yeah, and I don't think we can say enough about learning who you are. Because even that, is still just like the shadow work, is a never-ending process.
Yeah.
Because you're consistently evolving, you're constantly changing, you're having new experiences every single day. That may change that, and it's okay to change. It's okay to change. But
you're supposed to.
That's the one constant in life is change. So we're gonna have that, but it's okay to know that you are always evolving and that you don't have to stay stagnant stay stagnant with your previous being. If that makes sense. So like, you don't have to be stuck in the cycle of, oh, well, like you say, this happened to me when I was a kid and I stubbed my toe. And so now I am the stub toe man. And that's just how I'm living life.
No one felt sorry for me.
Yeah, no, that's not what we're doing here. But like, you should be able to and you pick out over characteristic or archetypes and say, okay, this is who I am. This is who I am choosing to be at this moment in time, or what I'm working towards becoming.
Yeah.
Right. And that is you. I mean, that you're not going to be able to say, okay, this is the whole totality of me, because you're never finished.
Right.
You're never finished.
And a lot of people get caught up in, they don't create intention because they feel they play victim. And don't get me wrong, playing the victim is an appealing way to live life, because then you're not responsible for anything. Nothing is ever your fault. And the world just does stuff. See, I lost my job because they didn't like me at work. Well, maybe. They may not have liked you. But generally speaking, if you lose your job at work, it's something you did. You know what I'm saying? Or if you get laid off because they downsizing, I mean, that's really not anything you can do anything about, but how you react to it defines who you are.
Oh, man, that's always how you react.
Right.
But the reaction, you can't necessarily, you have to let go of the control of the world around you and control yourself and your reactions. That's the only thing that you really should worry about.
Absolutely.
Is your emotions, your thoughts, you.
And that's again, when you're talking about creating intention, in the world, that's actively being involved in your own life, which terrifies people. Because the moment you say, I am active in my choices, I am active in my life, I am responsible for what my life is, then you no longer have that excuse of, well, life happened to me. My boss didn't like me, and this person didn't like that, and this person didn't like that. I can tell you right now, my last job, one of my bosses, she was like the director of the whole thing. She freaking hated me. She could not stand me. And don't get me wrong, I understand why. I was one of the few people who did not. I don't like titles. I think titles are funny. So like, there's two people in the world that I'm afraid of. One of them was the general who I used to serve in the Marine Corps, who was shot down twice. He was a pilot. He was shot down twice in Vietnam.
Wow.
And he fought his way back alone both times. And he had as many confirmed ground kills as he had air kills. And I was afraid of him because that man could kill me, like, relatively easily. He was a very dangerous individual.
That is a very dangerous individual.
Yeah. And the other is my boy Brian Priester, who is I think he's retired now, was a sergeant major in the Marine Corps. And he is a hand-to-hand combat specialist. And like, when we were kids, this cat, I understand, we used to play this game. It was called, we used to make up wrestlers. And so we would come up and make up your own wrestler, and you had to have your own signature move. His move was the flying toe hold. And
excuse me, hold on. No, wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
We were weird kids.
The flying toe hold.
Okay.
Please describe this move for me.
The flying toe hold. Okay. Brian was such a good fighter and a good wrestler at the time. He was about half my size, but he was just ripped, lean muscle. So what he would do, no matter how big you were or how scary you were, he would go and he would wrestle you to the ground. He would drag you by your leg up to somewhere elevated, like a couch or on a porch or something like that. He would drag you up there. Once he got you up there, he would take your shoe off and toss it, take your sock off and toss it. And meanwhile, you're fighting and struggling the whole time, trying to get away from him because you know what he's about to do. Okay, he takes your shoe and sock off, tosses them, and he grabs your big toe, jumps off the porch or couch, and yanks it out of socket. And that's the flying toe hold. And it was ridiculous. Every time he tried it, he got it on everybody. That's how good of a fighter he was before he became a hand-to-hand combat specialist in the Marine Corps, who taught other countries' soldiers how to fight.
That's scary.
That's like
a special, like,
dude, this cat was a superhero. He would do things like, he would call it making himself a flag. He would go up to any street sign and he would grab hold of it, and he would push himself out with one hand and hold himself out with the other hand, and basically make himself into a flag. He'd go, horizontal to the ground. That's who he was before.
So have you guys like tested him? Is he like a Viltrumite? Is he?
I don't know, but
is he from here?
He's from Detroit. And he is straight
like from
up
this
a
planet.
superhero. From this planet, I believe so, but I know he grew up in Detroit, and this cat was like a straight up superhero before he got trained. So those are the two people I'm not fighting.
I've always
for
been
no reason.
I've always been impressed by the people who do a lot of the calisthenic workouts and are able to like do movements like that. Like to me, that's like beyond gymnast.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And when you're at that level, that to me has always fascinated me. Or the people that, which is doable. I mean, this one is a lot more doable is when they're doing the pull-ups and they like kind of stair step themselves.
Yeah.
Like that to me, like, and they move at such a minute.
Like precision.
Yeah, that has always fascinated me. Like I always thought that was like super cool.
Well, and I guess back to my point that the point I was trying to make, and I'm sorry I'm yelling, but like the point I was trying to make was like those are two people who impress me. You know, those are two people who I'm like, okay, their title is earned. You know what I mean? And for other people, the title doesn't mean anything. You know, to me, like, oh, I'm a director of, I don't care. It doesn't matter. So what my boss hated me because I went into a meeting, you know, to basically tell her that she was doing something stupid and that it was not safe. And my immediate supervisor was like, you're so going to get fired. You can't talk to her like that. I'm like, why not? She's a human being just like me. I'm not impressed by your title. And so I got into that meeting and I talked to her just like she was a person. And people were just like, oh my God, does he know who she is? I'm like, I know exactly who you are. I'm not impressed with you.
Oh man, that is the Aquarian nature of challenging authority. Because but it's not necessarily challenging authority just for the sake of challenging authority. It's because
it was a safety issue.
You know, but that's where it's warranted. It's like just because you have this title doesn't mean that we can be placed in certain predicaments where it's not okay.
Right. The title doesn't make you correct all the time. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure she worked very hard to get her title and all that. And
which is
I respect that.
And that's where respect comes into play. A certain level of respect. I mean, you're going to respect everybody. But yeah, why would I fear you? Why would I be afraid to speak up about something, especially when I know that it's wrong?
For the greater good. And I guess that was my issue, was like, you know, when you're talking about creating intention, I did not intend to offend this person, but my intention was to emphasize the danger that was being created by this person not doing what needed to be done. And because of that intention, I was very clear on what it is that was going to happen next. And in order to be clear, I had to be direct and not be afraid of her title and not be, mealy mouth about how I said it. I was just very direct, and it just really offended people. That was like, who does this guy think he is? You know, he's some, low level guy in the company. He doesn't even do anything. And, that they noticed, and she's the director of whatever. And I'm like, I'm not impressed by the title. So I'm going to be direct with you and let you know what's going on. And that's really the key, is like, your attention has to be clear. When it gets clear, when you know what, you're trying to create and you're willing to manifest it, you got to be able to get past the fear of offending people sometimes. And that's, creating intention is a purposeful thing. It's something you do on purpose.
Yeah. Wow. On purpose.
Yeah. Wow.
But that purpose is like, it's like, okay, to get to point B, right? You have to have an intention, but to have that intention, you have to know who you are, which is point A. Mm-hmm. And your purpose is what drives you to get from point A to that point B.
Right. What is, so it's like your purpose is, that's a deeper discussion, because like when you're trying to figure out your purpose in life, why you're here, that is what your purpose is. You're trying to figure out why you're here. That's the question that is your existence. When we're talking about the meaning of life, what is the meaning of life? What is the meaning of your life is what your purpose is. And that's a decision you got to make for you. Like, why am I here? I decided mine early on. My purpose is to help and to aid other people who need it. That manifests in a variety of different ways, through teaching, through direct help, through, protesting, through, being involved in politics. All of those things they come from my initial purpose, that thing that fulfills me, that makes me feel like I am contributing to this world in a positive way. That's my purpose. And figuring that out, that's hard. How to take that purpose from just an idea or concept into manifestation, and you do that through intention. What is my intention? My intention is to help. Well, how do I help? I look at myself to figure out who I am, look at my abilities, skills, and talents, and how can I mold those into a useful tool to help society, to help manifest things that I want to manifest. So my creativity comes from what's my purpose. Why do I make supernatural movies all the time? Because I want people to think outside of the material. I want people to recognize the true spirituality of who and what we are as a people. I want the human race to evolve. My whole purpose of everything I do, from podcasts to TV shows to movies to books to whatever else, is going to be to create a world in which human beings understand that we are spirit, mind, and body, and that we evolve into a higher being in 100 years or 200 years, whenever it comes. My contribution is my purpose. And that's what each individual has to figure out. What's the reason for you being here? And nobody can answer that but you.
That's some deeper wisdom.
That's deep. I got deep early, I guess. I got deep early.
Deep down there, okay. But yeah, no, you're 100% correct. And even doing something like this podcast is exactly that.
Yeah.
And I find a lot of times some people will get stuck when it comes to purpose, and they're like, okay, well, my purpose is to do this, and that, and then they can get stuck on it. Which even I've been in that space before. Like, okay, well, this is the purpose, but then it's like, well, that's actually the purpose for now, for you to learn, so that you can now evolve that purpose into something bigger.
Yeah,
like
deeper.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, your purpose, your actual purpose, your end goal purpose is bigger. You can't necessarily see it yet because you haven't had all of the building blocks in place yet.
Yeah.
So you have to go and learn all these different building blocks, but be able to focus on them in the moment instead of trying to do everything at one time.
Yeah.
So that sometimes those smaller purpose moments help you zone in and focus and be able to concentrate on one specific thing, that even if in your mind you think, oh, this is the big purpose. So you're learning any and everything you can about it. You're going about it in so many different ways to now you become an expert on it. But that is really just going to be one tool in your tool belt versus the entire thing, or the only tool that you use.
Absolutely. For the lesson for me was when giving a sermon. Okay, and I used to run Pagan Pathways Temple, and I used to be the priest for that temple. And when you're giving a sermon and you have to decide what it is you're going to talk about today, you're trying to figure out what do I get up here and say that's going to inspire a bunch of people. They don't even do sermons in paganism for the most part. That's not even a thing. And people were very confused by that. Like, what? You're a pagan church. Why are you? First of all, you're a pagan church. You're a pagan temple, and second, you're preaching. What is that? And it was about discovering. I had to figure out what's the purpose. The purpose of the sermon was to help people to understand the concepts. Pagans already think outside the box as far as spiritual concepts, but to take those concepts and apply them in a way that is practical in a modern world. That was the purpose of the sermons. How do I take this ancient wisdom and apply it to my 9 to 5? How do I go into a workplace and feel the vibrations in a place and learn to alter it? And I was able to teach some people, or at least inspire some people to learn how, through our sermons, how to take the vibration that exists in your workplace and alter it to make your work environment better. Through becoming a beacon of positive vibrations and positive energy in that environment. You become the battery of light. You become the battery of energy that changes the workplace. And I've had a number of people who've utilized that in a very practical sense in their workplace to make their workplace better, or at least raise the vibration enough so that people were happier for being there, and it changed the whole way the business functioned. And that's a good lesson to learn.
Yeah.
But figuring that out, you have to figure out what your purpose is. My purpose was to help, and the help I was giving at the time caused me to have to do a sermon to interpret these spiritual ideas in a way that was helpful to the community in which I was serving at the time. Now, that has evolved into when I create through, movies or whatever medium it is that I'm doing, to bring that wisdom and that understanding into a medium that's palatable for a general audience. And that goes back to the initial purpose that I decided upon and am now living, and it is now a part of everything that it is that I do.
And I kind of had I guess for me it was, how can I explain this? Because I like how, like you say, when you were in temple, but you're preaching, right?
Yeah.
And it's different. It's unorthodox
Yeah.
to most people. It's like, okay, well, wait a minute. Those two things
Don't go together.
Counter. I don't know. Two things seem opposite of each other.
Yeah.
But it's being able to understand both ideas, merge them together, and create the analogies that let people be able to bring that down at a level that they can understand and adopt it to their life.
Absolutely.
And because, when you get into certain teachings and things, you begin to realize that certain truths it's across the board.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not just, even the way that you would describe things in quantum physics. It's like, this is how the inner workings of things are behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
But you're speaking it in jargon.
Yeah.
It's like work jargon. But you apply it to someone in everyday life, okay, well, this is how this is, on the daily. This is how you actually do this.
Yeah.
Like you say, okay, well, you can you can change your entire environment just by bringing a positive vibration. When they're like, well, what is that? The language and terms that you're using might sound different, but it's like, okay, well, if you're doing this, this, and that, this is bringing a positive vibration.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
and
that's what that, and it's practical. So like even with, so when I teach my meditation workshop, right, one of the sessions is about focus.
Yeah.
And so I don't want the whole thing to just be about, all right, we're going to sit here, we're going to meditate, and we're going to focus.
And that's good too.
It's good. But then you're going to have people, okay, but what does focus look like? What does that mean? What does that look like? How does that feel? And so you have to come up with all these different ways. It's a part of being a teacher. You have to come up with these different ways to reach people. And one of the things that I had them do, it was kind of a challenge where I would let them choose an instrument, whether it be the drums, the piano or the keyboard, the bass guitar, or the electric guitar. And I say, okay, we're going to listen to jazz music. Pick one instrument. And then when I play the song, you're going to focus on that one instrument. Mm-hmm. And then when we come back, we're going to share our experiences. And so when you come back and everybody's talking about their experience, some of them didn't even know that a keyboard was playing.
Yeah.
But the keyboard person like, oh, well, the keyboard does this, and that.
Yeah.
And it's like, but your focus, like that's how you are able to point your focus towards something.
To narrow.
You narrow down your focus.
Yeah.
And sometimes we do that unintentionally, but intentionally. Doing it intentionally changes the whole perspective.
And the whole experience, yeah.
Yeah, and changes your whole perspective, your whole experience, and now you're able to do something different, but you also had a purpose in doing so.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's really what it comes down to. Why do I need to know my purpose in life? What's the point of that? The point is it focuses things. There's too much to do and too much to learn and too much to see in this world for you to do everything. So people get lost in it and they don't really find meaning in it because there's just so much going on. We're inundated by media. There's so much experiences in life that you can have. So people don't really understand, why do I have to find purpose? It's because it narrows your view. And I talk to people all the time about the reticular activating system and how it literally filters what you experience. From a simply organic brain perspective, it literally filters what you see and what you recognize as opportunity in the world or things that are important in the world. Having a defined purpose narrows your vision so that you start to see things that are directly related to your purpose. So when you're trying to be someone who wants to help in the world, say that's your purpose, or if your purpose is to inspire, or say your purpose is to bring about change, the more you focus on your purpose, the more you will begin to see those opportunities, avenues, and ways that will allow you to fulfill that purpose. So making that decision and doing that work to figure out what that is literally changes your experience of life, your experience of the world. You see what it is that's related to your purpose clearly and can now focus your intentions on making that happen. So then when you try to figure out your intention, okay, I got my purpose. What's my intention? Your intention becomes to fulfill that purpose through this medium or through this person or that person or this opportunity or that opportunity. And in order to do that, I need these things as far as education and training and practice. It makes things clearer and gives life that meaning that, back to that first question, what is the meaning of life? It gives that life meaning because now you know why you're here. You know what you're here to do. And that's not something that just happens to you or you figure out. People are like, I've been waiting my whole life to figure out what the meaning is. It's not something that's given to you. It's something you decide. And
and that is I got it. It's something you decide might be the best answer that I've heard to what is the meaning of life, because that is 1,000% true.
Yeah.
It's something you decide.
Yeah. The
meaning of life, most likely, I would probably say with 99.9% surety that it's not the same for you won't find two people the same one. It's the same as everybody has their own fingerprint. You know what I mean? Yeah. Your purpose is different. So everybody has to have their own lived experience. Your purpose may have been to come along and spark something in the next person, so that now their purpose is something. You know what I mean? It's like a pinball effect in a way. And
well, I give you an example, like the movie The Matrix.
One of my favorites.
I know. I'm sure they were just trying to make a really good movie. You know what I mean? And they were trying to be very creative in the way they layered it. The movie The Matrix inspired me and a lot of other people that I know to literally think about the world in a different way. I mean, to not just think that, well, the world's out here and it manifests and I'm separate from it and it just sort of happens. And when you start to realize that the world is not what you thought it was, that the world is a lot more complex and that the inner world is just as real as the outer world, it changes your whole perspective on everything. And nothing just happens to you.
Yeah.
You're a part of a process that is deep and profound, and you having the ability to affect it, man, that's empowering in a way that you can't really describe.
Welcome to Halftime. Give yourself and your mind a moment to rest. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose, and slow, deep breath out through the mouth. Focus only on your breath. Take another slow, deep breath in, and another slow, deep breath out. Feel better? Good. We want to take this moment to thank you for listening and watching this podcast. We hope you take something positive from it. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment your light bulb moments. We also want to thank one of our biggest sponsors that make this podcast possible, Podcastic. Check them out at podcasticlife.com. Back to the wisdom.
Man, I will say, I'm glad you brought that up, because that movie, The Matrix, is by far still today one of my favorite movies ever. And it's funny because I remember watching that movie. I was a kid when it came out, and I see that movie.
You gotta rub it in, man.
In my youth, I watched it and I was like, hey, I didn't like say it in these words, but there was like this understanding to me when I watched it. I said, oh, like this, I like this movie because this is how I envision the world to be. And to me, it felt like, okay, well, this movie is showing me what I feel like the world is like, but everything else keeps telling me that it's not like this, and that this movie is just that. The concept of this movie is just a movie concept and not actual life. And that was just how I viewed it. And so, I had that movie kind of close to me. And then when I still go out and I get older and I experience the world and I talk to more people and this and that, I didn't realize that most people didn't quite understand that movie.
No.
That to them it was confusing. And it's not me trying to like toot my horn or nothing like that. It was just, I thought that people understood the movie. Yeah. And they would still kind of just discount what it was saying. And it was just like, nah, like this is explaining reality.
Yeah.
you know, and how you kind of curate that and the power that you have and how the mind works and the way the outside world reacts to how you are on the inside.
And tries to influence.
And tries to influence it. Like there's this battle going on. The Agent Smiths of the world. Like the lady in the red dress. Like all this, like I'm like, yo, like, yeah, this is how I see the world.
Yeah.
But I'm a kid. I can't really articulate that. I just know how it felt.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting now to see where people want to go down and they reference that movie. And I'm like, yeah. So like now people are understanding like, yo, The Matrix was ahead of its time.
Yes, it was.
The Matrix was so pivotal just for one, the knowledge and wisdom that it had in it, but as an action film, phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Like they had classic scenes in that film that were just
to stick with you.
Yeah.
Well, and I loved that about it. I think the thing that really spoke to me, and speaks to a lot of people, you know, at least now, that things are starting to be revealed at how much of the world is made up. You know, that much of what we think about reality is untrue. That understanding is starting to become a part of the paradigm in which we live. Yeah. The understanding is that a lot of this revolution that we see going on is because people are starting to wake up to the truth about things, and it is a world shaking experience to wake up and realize none of this is real. None of this.
I'm loving it.
Me too. Don't get me wrong. I'm
love
right there with you.
Like life right now, the way the world is, no, it's not great in those terms. Don't get me wrong. But what I want to say is life right now is one of my favorite movies.
It's more genuine.
Yes, because
like
it's people coming into awareness, like you said, and even the word Matrix now is a common term. Like people understand when you say like, oh yeah, now we're living in a Matrix. Like yeah, it's become a buzzword, but like people get it now, and it's like, yes,
there are deeper truths than what we've been taught. And I was talking to this young lady. She was talking about, well, she's not young, but she was talking about a time when, you know, they never used to talk about homosexuality, you know, and all that stuff. It was never out in the open like this. And, you know, gay people were always, you know, you knew the little one had sugar in his tank or whatever. And they were, you know, a lot of people really talked about that, you know, never really talked about that when we were kids. And I'm like, yes, in our generation, we lied. And she looked at me funny, and I was like, yes, it's called lying when you know something is true, and then you don't acknowledge that it's true, and then you belittle, berate, and torture someone because they are living their truth. That's called lying. And she was stunned by the fact. I was like, yeah, we're waking up to the fact that there are homosexual people in our society. Guess what? Yeah. They're still people. They're still United States citizens. They have every right that you have. And
they just have one aspect of their lifestyle that's
different. No, it's not even different. It's normal. Homosexuality occurs in nature, but people are still stuck on this lie that we were told that this is what a man is supposed to be, this is what a woman is supposed to be, and if you don't fit into either of those two categories that we have defined based on complete bullshit, then you're other. And that we're finding out that all of us in various ways,
we are all the other.
Exactly. Whether it's our belief system, whether it's our sexuality, whether it's just the way we view the world, whether it's how we do the dishes, or, you know, just the way that we live, those standards and ideas that were created were complete BS from the beginning. And they were designed to box us into an idea that makes us controllable. And that's the Matrix. And that's what people are waking up from. That those ideas are arbitrary. Someone made them up. Some human decided what it was supposed to be and made it up. And those boxes keep us away from our purpose. They tell us what our purpose is supposed to be. And that purpose is not something that we can live sustainably.
You know what? I'm creating an intention to become, to help people become Matrix escapers.
We want to be Morpheus.
Yes.
Try to be Morpheus up in there.
Yes.
I like it.
Yes.
I like it.
Yeah, I want to help I want to be one. I'm the young Morpheus.
There you go.
Here we go. We're about to expand your mind. I'm going to bring you some real light bulb moments and get into some higher thought. And yeah, I mean, that's just kind of what that is a little bit. But, you know, let's bring some awareness to things. Not that I do not know it all.
Nobody can.
Means. It's not.
Nobody
I don't.
can.
I'm still learning a lot. I have a lot to learn. I feel like I'm a baby as far as learning everything, and I feel like by the end of this lifetime, I would still be a baby.
If you're honest, people who say they got the answers to everything are lying to themselves and everybody else.
It's impossible.
Nobody has got the answers. And if you understand that, it makes life a lot easier. If you know that there's no way you're going to get all the answers by the time you leave this mortal coil, you accept that, then you can understand that your purpose becomes a little bit clearer.
Yeah, now see, I have tips and ideas and things like that. Answers, I can tell you what 2 + 2 possibly is. You know, there's some debate now on that, but you know, I have theories and ideas. That's what I can offer up, and things that I've learned that I can pass on for your interpretation.
Yeah.
And that would be the intention, but your purpose in that, it's up to you.
Yeah,
It's
I
up to
feel
you.
on that. I feel on that. Yeah. So okay, now we figured out what our intention, what intention is and what purpose is. How do you find them? That's that shadow work that we were talking about before. That research that we're talking about before is asking yourself some very important questions. One of the things that I love about Bucky's complete book, Bucky's Big Blue Book, it's a complete guide to witchcraft. Don't judge. But the thing I love about it is the fact that after every chapter, there are literally questions you have to answer about the previous chapter and about what you believe. And I think that helps if you're talking about finding your purpose and your intention. Asking yourself pointed questions about what you believe is a great start. Asking yourself, okay, what is it that I would like to see in the world? They talk about it, be the light you want to see in the world. That's where it starts. It's figuring out what is it that the world needs and how, and what is it that I want to contribute. And I don't mean getting complex. I mean, get real base level. Like I want to make sure people are nicer. Okay. Well, how do you do that? You teach people how to be nice. You show people what it is to be nice. You create means by which people can have the opportunity to be kind. Most people in emergencies, which defies public opinion. Most people in emergencies are kind, giving, and helpful. They want to help. They just don't have a purpose. Most of our survival instincts, in the olden days, we had to do all this stuff just to survive. So we always had a reason why we were doing things. Now, life is pretty comfortable for most of us. We got TV and internet and computers and phones and cars and all these things make life really convenient. So a lot of that purpose for survival has been done away with through convenience. So in order to find purpose, we have to actually look at a base level simple thing that we want to contribute and then integrate that into our technologically advanced environment. If you want to make people be kinder, give them an example of what that looks like. Give them an opportunity. Start a nonprofit that gives them the opportunity to serve the poor, or to come and volunteer and clean up a street, or to help, in some other way. The reason why those commercials for, in the arms of an angel, all that kind of stuff, they'll help the animals, help the people in Rwanda or whatever, they're successful because it allows people to feel like that they were able to help by making a phone call. You know what I mean? If you really want to create kindness in the world, create examples on how to teach kids to be kind, how to teach young people to be kind, how to teach old people to challenge their old ideas and prejudices and disbelief. There's all kinds of ways to do it, but you start with the base level. What is it that I want to create in the world? And is that true about me? That's the key part.
Is that true about me?
Yeah.
That's the deep one.
Yeah.
And I like that it's a question, because a lot of times on this journey we call life, I like to tell people to always start with a question. Like, questions are your best friend. I love questions, whether they're being asked of me or me asking them. A lot of things that I've gotten to learn are mostly from questions.
They lead somewhere.
They always lead somewhere. So I always tell people, all right, well, okay, go to your mental train station, right? And you had all these different trains of thought. Go tell the teller, hey, I got this question that I want the answer to. And then you go get on that train, and you stay on that train of thought and follow it until it stops. And you get off and explore.
Yeah.
And then that's where you really learn.
That's the new territory.
That's the new territory. So now you've been able to, like, okay, I've been able to answer this question up until this point. I can now use this as a vantage point to see around me and to see within me and to be able to understand around the world around me and how things work, or whatever the answer to this question is, no matter how simple or how complicated.
Yeah.
And then you can move on from there. And that is now your new vantage point.
Yeah. And that's kind of the key. If you ask a question, again, we go back to the reticular activating system. The moment you ask that question, your brain goes, oh, well, this is important. Let's look for answers. And so then as you explore this new area that you're in, or this new part of the world, or this new way of thinking, your reticular activating system will start to bring those things to you and show you them. Like, here's a person who can help you answer that question, or here's an opportunity for you to explore that question. As you begin to do what it is, to ask the questions and figure out the answers, you begin to see what the purpose in that exploration is, how it affects you, and how it affects the world. It is all about exploration and asking questions of yourself and of the universe. And the moment you begin to ask, your brain, the universe will bring those opportunities and then people to you and attract them to you, so that you can actually have the experience of understanding. So, but it starts, like you said, with the question.
Yeah, it's you almost kind of turn yourself into the question master, in a way, and
I am the wizard master. Yeah, I am the wizard. Sorry,
do that, but also
back to Elm Street.
But also become the fool.
Yeah, the fool always asks.
Yeah, be the fool. Like it's not necessarily not be foolish. There's a difference.
Yes, there is.
Don't be foolish, but be the fool. Play the fool.
Always. Sometimes it's best to walk into a room and not know.
I love that. Because to me, it's like I can walk into a room and not know. That is an opportunity.
Yep.
Opportunity. Because now I don't know what's about to happen.
Exactly.
This is exciting to me now. Like, what's the best thing that could come out of this situation? What am I going to learn out of this? What am I going to walk out of this room with? What's the experience?
And how is it going to change me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the reward.
Yeah.
That's the reward. How is it going to change me, or what am I going to learn about me?
Yeah. It's if you surround yourself with people who know things that you don't know and have experienced things that you haven't experienced, there is no way you can come out of that experience without learning something new. If you're open to it, and putting yourself in those types of situations is, if you're if you really don't know how to figure out your purpose or what your intention should be, put yourself in an environment that is completely foreign to you. Whether you don't have to go to a foreign country, just hang out with some people you don't hang out with normally. Go hang out with some people that, who've experienced things that you've never experienced. Go hang out with some vets. You know what I mean? Go down to a VFW and just be like, I'm here to learn from you guys, and just listen. You will learn a whole different way of looking at the world that you've never experienced. You know what I mean? Go to a different church. Go to a church that's not even of the denomination of Christianity that you're a part of, or a different faith altogether. Go to a mosque. Go to a temple and figure out what it is that's different about the way that they think, and how does that apply to you? And is there anything familiar in it, or anything you can learn from it? And that's, when people ask me all the time, how did you end up as a pagan? I read a lot. I read the Bible twice, cover to cover. I read the Quran. I read the Torah. I read all of these sacred documents, these ancient documents that have different philosophies that are universal, across the board.
Yeah, when you start to be like, oh, these are all talking about some of the same things.
Some of them actually use even the same books and the same, the same verses, the same ideas and concepts with different names. They have a lot of the same stories in them, and a lot of the same philosophies. And most of it comes down to, don't be a jerk, be a good human being, do something good in the world. Most of it is the same stuff. And if you really pay attention, you'll understand that makes those ideas and those concepts, and thus those people, more like you than different. So when you're starting to figure out what it is that you are and what your purpose should be, you start to realize that the world is open. It's not as limited as we've been taught that it is. And it's definitely not as superficial as we've been taught, or materialistic as we thought.
Yeah, no, and I think people have to get used to craving experiences.
Mm-hmm. Being uncomfortable.
Yes, especially that, because most people aren't comfortable being uncomfortable.
No.
Me, I've been in lots of uncomfortable situations. So sometimes, well, not sometimes, a lot of times I'm comfortable being uncomfortable. It's not a bad space for me to be in. To me, it's just a learning moment for me. You know, it's...
I got a wild one for you. Hold up. Okay, so like my sister and my niece invited me. Okay, I'm a straight man. Okay, they invited me to a drag show, and I was like, wait, what? At first, and then I went to the drag show and had the best time. I mean, it was just a great one. It was a great show. They were really talented people, a lot of lip syncing going on, but the costuming and just the look of people, and it was just a great time. And I was like, does this make me gay? And I was like, no, I still like women, but I can appreciate, the work that goes into this and how much creativity went into it, and the personas that they created and the lifestyle that they created that made it just a fantastic experience. And we had a great time the whole time. And that way of putting myself into an environment that was completely foreign to me, it made it, when I actually, at the time I had homosexual friends, and I was just like, well, this makes me understand, this isn't a threat to me at all. This is just something different that I hadn't experienced before. And I thought it was just so cool that I could put myself in that environment and not be, come in with my preconceived ideas or notions and prejudices and just learn.
It's that. And a lot of times I'll tell people, a lot of times we treat our thoughts how we treat people.
Yeah.
Or treat your thoughts how you treat people, or treat your people how you treat your thoughts. And that's without judgment.
Yeah.
Let them come and go without judgment.
Just experience them.
If it's not for you, let it pass. If it is, cool, experience it.
Yeah.
You might learn something. You know what I mean? But don't just cast them off just because, or have your cast your judgment before, just looking at it for what it is.
Yeah.
Take it for what it is. It's not, like you say, it's not an attack on you.
I've never understood. This is the one thing, and I know this is off subject, but I have never understood this hatred towards gay people or gay marriage. I'm like, how does two people you don't even know, getting married affect you? I could never understand the concept.
It doesn't affect them. It's just, if you believe it affects you, then it does. If that's your thought process,
I think that's a load of BS. That's.
But it's true to them. The truth, what's true to them, what's true to people, and the truth are two different things.
Jon Stewart had from the Daily Show had a real great piece on this where he was talking about how does gay marriage affect you, and he just went on this whole tirade about of complete idiocy about how it affected people, and he just did this whole spiel on it, and I thought it was fantastic. It was like, when you actually explore the topic, it makes absolutely no sense why anybody would be against it, because it doesn't affect you in any way, shape, or form. It's just it flies in the face of an idea or a lie that we've been told that this is what a man should be, this is what a woman should be, and that if you're not one of those things, you're wrong. And when it flies in the face of that lie, if you've incorporated that lie into your very being and your purpose for being, then it offends that animal brain got in the back of her head that says, you're threatening me.
A lot of times we like to hold other people to our belief system.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. And that can come from in any aspect of life.
Yeah.
Your belief system is your personal own laws that you're going to follow in this lifetime that you abide by, but that doesn't necessarily restrict everyone else to those same laws.
Well, it starts with your belief system, as in it applies to you, and I'm good with that as long as you keep your ideas applying to you. Have whatever beliefs you want to, as long as you only apply them to you. When you start forcing or believing that other people should be, adhere to your idea on what life should be or what their purpose should be or who they should be, then you've lost the plot,
Yeah. I think that's when I guess to bring it back around, since I'll give my last few thoughts, but if your intention and purpose comes to be about someone else,
yeah,
outside of you,
yeah,
that's the danger zone.
Yeah.
You know, keep it to you. You know, that's not saying don't talk about it, don't do this, don't do that, but like, don't make it so that you are handicapping or handcuffing other people to what your purpose and intentions are, because now you're bringing in outside aspects that won't help you get to where you are trying to go.
Nope.
And so that's where that non-judgment has to come in. And now you never know where people from different walks of life will take you.
Absolutely.
Or things or ideas from different walks of life or experiences will take you. I've had the pleasure of being able to meet some amazing people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some amazing people that are all different in their own ways. And I've been able to have a lot of unique experiences that some people haven't been able to have, and it's just been like, wow, like I have had the privilege of having my eyes open to a lot more than some people who have closed themselves off.
Well, that's it. That's the point, is having biases and, prejudging things limits you. And I guess if I'm going to have my closing words, it's just this. You choose the experience that you have. So when you're looking for your purpose, okay, the first thing you have to do is understand that it's an offering. Everyone has the same choice you do. They can accept it or not. The purpose of this show is not to make people believe any sort of way. It's simply to offer a perspective that may be different or deeper than the casual experiences that you might find in another podcast or another show or just the other media that's out there, to offer something a little bit deeper. And it's an offering. People can accept it or not. No one's trying to make you believe anything. You just pick and choose what you need, or what you can accept from what we're saying, and then go about your day. You know what I mean? The moment you decide someone has to or someone should, think the way you think, you lost the plot, man. You're off game.
And that is your lessons in deeper wisdom. That was a good one.
I dig that.
That was a really good one. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed this topic today, for sure.
I did too. That was good.
Right. Cool.
That was good.
I guess any other last words before we get up out of here? Send these people off on their journeys of intention and purpose.
Absolutely. Finding your purpose gives life meaning and makes you more fulfilled. Even if you just live and know what it is, knowing what it is gives your life meaning and gives your life purpose. It's worth looking into.
Word. Well, for me, as always, think higher, follow the light bulbs. You'll get there.
Gotcha.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Peace.